Hello and welcome to my hobby table yet again. It is the 5th day of January and it's been a while since I've actually posted a non-bearing installation video. So what I've got on the table today is, and just going back to the video thing, I don't know, the last few days I just have not been in the mood to create videos at all. But today is a little bit different story. I've got a nice Super Tigre S3000 engine on my table here that I'm going to reassemble. I don't know if I'm going to do the entire reassembly on here. I mean, there's not much to it. But this is an engine that was featured in a Boca bearing removal and installation video, and here's that beautiful crankshaft that's got those new bearings in there. This is really not relevant to today's video, so I'm going to take that out. But what is more relevant is this main crankcase casting, the connecting rod, the old piston that I have removed the connecting rod from, and these little clips. I did this off of camera, and some things I'll do off camera just because of the fact that if I have to put my head piece on, my head magnifier with the light on it, I'd be sticking my head right down here and you wouldn't be seeing anything anyway. So the day that I was disassembling this engine is when I discovered that this piston was chipped out, and in addition to that, the ring was broken. So I quickly went on eBay because I was like really frustrated. Quickly went on eBay and found a couple of things here to get this engine going again, which is one of them is this piston here. It's I don't know, it looks like somebody was just parting out a Super Tigre S3000 engine. And they're probably making pretty good money doing it that way too. But I mean, to me, this piston doesn't look like it's been used that much. So I'm not sure why they'd be doing that. But so I got a piston for a reasonable price, and then I got a new ring here. Now, Bjorn, if you're watching this video, don't feel bad because I was just kind of in a pinch. I normally would get my new rings from Bjorn Ball at Machine Works, RMJ Machine Works out of Texas, but like I said, I was just kind of frustrated in a pinch, and sometimes Bjorn's need to be made because he doesn't necessarily keep all of his on hand. So this one I got from an eBay retailer that I buy a lot of Inya parts from, and he just so happens to have these GC piston rings. They're British made. They're very good rings. So I've got a new ring here. So basically the gist of this video is going to be me installing the ring in this engine. So ring installation is not something that I do on a regular basis by any means. I mean, I have just found in the course of all these engines that I've serviced over the years, I've just found that it's been very seldom that I've ever needed to change the ring on a piston at all on an engine unless it was broken. So I would say all total I've probably done maybe 5 or 6 rings ever. So I am no expert on ring installation and no expert on those types of things, but the few things I do know is this. The first thing I did was off camera is I kind of what you would call honing the inside of this sleeve. Now basically what honing is, as far as I understand it from automotive stuff, is you're basically just removing all carbon buildup that's in there. So what I used was a piece of 600 grit sandpaper with some oil, and I was just rubbing it all around in here and getting this sleeve. See, I don't know if you can really see. Getting that sleeve all prepped for accepting a new ring, because when you put a new ring in an engine like this, you're basically doing a new break-in. So the other thing with that is a lot of times I'll see people or hear people say, well, I'm going to replace the ring, piston, and sleeve. And it's like, well, why are you doing that? If you have a ringed engine, there's a 99% chance that there is absolutely nothing wrong with your sleeve. So there's no reason to go investing money in a sleeve unless you've damaged it. I've never ever seen a sleeve go bad on any engine. I've only seen very few piston rings go bad. I've seen several pistons go bad, but never the sleeve. So anyway, what I'm going to do here is, like I said, I've already got that prepped. And what I like to do, especially if it's a used piston, is I'll use the old piston ring and I'll just kind of run it through the groove and just make sure that, and I'll kind of walk it around like this just to make sure that the groove is clear and that we're not going to have any kind of obstructions. Now the other thing I'd like to do always a good thing is make sure you know where your pin is. Now on a 4-stroke engine you're not going to see pinned rings because there are no ports in a sleeved 4-stroke sleeve that are going to get hung up on things, but 2-stroke engines will 90% of the time will have pinned rings. I've seen some Fox engines that don't, which is unusual. But so then the next thing I do is I have put a little bitty dot on this because there's a mark there and that's actually where the pin goes through there. I put a dot with a piece of Sharpie on there so that I can better align that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run some oil, and this just so happens to be ballistol oil, all around that. And for me to do my ring installation, I start just kind of at one little side here and try to just kind of try to work it in. Boy, I don't know. I don't care for doing this operation that much. And there we go. So you can see the ring slides around, but I'm not going to let it slide around. I'm going to make sure that gap stays right there. I just want to make sure it is free to slide. It's not hung up on anything, but I'm going to make sure I keep that ring gap there. So the next thing I'm going to do here is remove that ring out of the way. Because I'm going to be installing this down into the cylinder like this. So I need to get this connecting rod on here. And to do that, I probably will have to, I don't need that here right now. Probably will have to oil it. And I'll probably need to tap this in because I don't know that I can just slide this in and hope it's going to get fully seated. Maybe it will. So this is the original connecting rod that came out of the engine. Now let me make sure, where is that? Goes like this, so we're going to make sure that so I need to flip this connecting rod over because this ring gap looks like it's wanting to ride. As it goes in here like this, it looks like the ring gap is there. It looks like it's wanting to ride in this portion of the sleeve that doesn't have a gap, so I just installed this. I need to flip this connecting rod over. Because this side is the chamfered side, so that needs to go towards the crankshaft or toward the crank wedding. Okay, so that's correct now. Now the next tricky thing is putting these little C-clips in here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not. I'm hoping nobody sees this because I don't want to go trying to search for these things. I'm going to push this one way down, make sure I got my... So the thing with these little clips is, you can see how it's shaped there. I always stick this piece in first and then just kind of do one of these things, but it's... want to just make sure that you either have a magnet nearby or keep all your fingers right here over it. These things can be kind of a pain. This is because it's big. This is a big one here. And the other thing is I got to try and figure out how is it. Okay, I think. Again, not a big fan of these things doing this particular task. It's a lot it's a lot easier with the smaller ones because they bend a lot easier. Man, this one's really, I just don't want to make sure it doesn't go flying. like it just did. Okay, so I'm probably going to pause the video here and work these things in because this is going to take a little bit more effort than I anticipated. So I'm going to turn the video off here, and then I'll come back when I go to insert the piston in the casing. Okay, I got those little clips in here. Boy, that was not a pleasant thing to do. In fact, I think I sacrificed a thumbnail for that until I figured out I could just use the end of one of my punches. So they're in. This is all looking good. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to just lube this piston all up. Put some in here like it's going to stay. And I am going to just make sure that my ring gap stays here. That goes that way. So the front of the engine's this way. The chamfered part of the connecting rod is here, which is where it's going to engage in the connecting rod when I get that front housing put in. And I'm just going to make sure here that I keep my ring gap right there. And just kind of start collapsing this ring down at the same time that I'm kind of putting a little bit of downward pressure. Oh, there we go. And she's in. Good. And there we go. So now what I can do is grab my front housing. And you know you got a big engine when the hardware is huge and you have lock washers on things. And this thing is so big that I'm actually going to have to get a larger than normal. It's larger than 3 millimeters. There we go, that's the one. Larger hex key. So what I'm going to do now is make sure I have my crankshaft there, so I'm going to have to push it up a little bit. I want this round top dead center, so. Now I've already got the O-ring installed on the front housing, and this thing's just gonna want to come right out of here. It is cocked a little bit. My piston is, or my connecting rod is just not quite sitting there straight. Yeah, there. Sorry if I'm moving this out of frame. This is kind of one of those things where it's just kind of, I have to get it so I can see this stuff. I'm going to dab a little bit of oil on there again. Now I can start putting my front housing screws in. So the rest of this is pretty much just boring stuff. I'm putting screws in an engine. So I mean, that is for the most part how I would do a ring installation. And again, I haven't done a ton of those, so it's not like I'm a super expert on ring installations. Is there a burr on this screw here or what? Let's grab a different one. So anyway, that's pretty much all there is to this. I'll just be throwing the head on, rear cover, and then getting this thing ready to ship to my buddy Ron in Alaska, because this is his engine. So that's pretty much all there is for this video right now. I'm just going to go ahead and button this guy back up, find a box, get it packed up, and get it ready to go.